Falcons Ledge. I'm Austringer, and today we're going to be talking about customizations that I've made to the cockpit. Even though the Next Level Racing Cockpit has an enormous amount of customizability already built into it, there's always going to be interesting use cases which might require a different approach. And in my case, I have a large number of customizations because of the unique configuration that I use. So let's take a look at some of the customizations that I have on this Next Level Racing setup. The first customization that we'll talk about is going to be the mount for my VPForce Rhino force feedback joystick. And that takes two parts. Both parts are from the Next Level Racing Flight Stand Pro. And these are usually used to mount the side mounts, the places where you put your joystick and your throttle, and those mount to using a T-bar. And the T-bar looks like this. It has rails here and also rails here. And the reason I use this is primarily for this rail. These are the mounting plates that they provide you from Next Level Racing. There were two of them. Each of them had a different type of connection here, but they are effectively the same thing. What I decided to do was mount the Rhino to this. I used two of the existing holes and then drilled two more holes here. What I did is I found that I could line up two of the mounting holes that already existed in the Flight Stand Pro. So the Flight Stand Pro and the Flight Seat Pro connect together, and they actually connected at different layers. So that would be one thing that I would recommend to improve, is when you're using these together, they should really have a level connecting surface. So we'll talk about that when I go over the pros and cons and the recommendations. So what I did is I connected this facing backwards towards me, with those two bolts here that went into the existing frame, and then I drilled a hole here through both to create a third position to hold it all stable. Now I am going to do a fourth out in the back to give it some really good stability. But the way that this rides in here, I don't know if you can see this, but it actually, there's a gap between there. So having a head of a bolt here and here, not a big deal. Still slides back and forth just fine. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to move the Rhino forward and backwards and allows me to put it right where I want it. So that's the Rhino mount. I didn't do an in-cockpit view of that in this video because it's really quite hard to see. So let's look at the next customization. Next, we're going to be talking about my modification of the left arm. The rotation on it is not really useful in this scenario, but what I have done is I put a screw here that has a spacer on it that allows me to take these VR controllers and just put them over there, and they hang nicely there in the right place. This is a modified mount to a iKig Orion 2 mount, and what I did is I bent this and modified these holes so that they would be the right distance here, and that allows me to use this as a button box. And this I've used Joystick Gremlin to map a button at the bottom and a button at the top, and that is my landing gear lever. This is just a prototype handle that I threw together out of some parts that I had, so that's why it's kind of bad there, but this works pretty well. And I didn't really have a use for a mount up here, so I wanted to reuse parts that I had already and be able to apply those to the Next Level Racing Cockpit to make it work for all the things that I needed to do. So that's that modification. All right, this is the modification that I made to the right side. Let me move the VR headset. I have these two screws here on the end. They don't go in far enough to stop it from moving, but they are long enough to do what I need them to do, and that is to be a holder for the VR headset. It just hooks in right there and allows me to store the VR headset there. So what this is a Predator mount. This is the Predator long mount, so we're not using the long feature. What I did is I used these two holes in the front on the Next Level Racing keyboard mount and I was able to mount them in the grooves here. I can loosen these and change the angle of it and everything. This also does release and come off if I need it to. Though I don't typically need to. And so that's a pretty simple modification of this right arm. And it has really given me a great place to have the keyboard mounted there. And it took me a bit to get used to using the keyboard on this side, but I gotta say, it's really nice now that I'm used to it. As you can see, I have an Orion 2 throttle, and I've got a mouse here for it. The way that I have this set up is so that I can use the helicopter collective and the throttle. However, I don't want to be reaching too far out for the throttle because that's not a very ergonomic thing, and you all know how much I care about ergonomics. Why? Because that's what makes you comfortable on long flights. So how can I get this to work where the throttle is in a good position and I can use the collective? Because right now, I can't use the collective. Down here at the bottom there are 4 screws. 2 of them I've left just loose enough that they can slide, and the other 2 are these handled screws. These were included in the Next Level Racing kit for another part, but all I have to do is loosen them up, and then I can take this whole unit and slide it out and then retighten them. And this allows me to use the collective. And then when I'm done flying a helicopter and now I want to go back to a fixed wing, I just loosen these 2 toggle screws and scoot it all the way in till it contacts the collective there, and then I tighten them up. I've mounted this as far forward as I can on the chair, but in addition to that, I had to do a little bit of modification to make all of this work. The kit came with 2 of these plates. This plate's modified, it's the first one that I was using. And they have different ways of connecting them to this T-bar here. The other plate, which by the way isn't the one that's intended to be used here, it's actually intended to be used on the other side, has an adapter here that is removable. It's held on with screws. So what I did is I mounted that slider as far inwards and as far back as I could. I found some holes and drilled a couple of holes, or expanded them rather, and that allowed me to mount it further away so that when I had everything together and I had this in its groove, it would allow me to move it far enough out of the way to use the collective. There's not much of a way to move the collective any closer to the chair. Maybe I could get it another 1/2 inch closer to the chair if I modified the bracket or used a custom bracket. But in this situation, it's a good distance from the chair that is comfortable to use. So I think that if I were to modify it any further, I would find some way to be able to move this plate and slide this plate, maybe do a couple more of these toggles underneath or something, so that I could get this maybe this much closer. But in the position that it's in, this is comfortable to use. So this is just fine. And that is my modification of the throttle mounting, and it works pretty well. And next up we have the right side mount modification. This one is a bit more significant. I don't have a stick mounted to it right now. I have it kind of set up for A10. This one, I found the mount to be too far back, even when it was moved to the furthest forward option. In this configuration that you see here, I actually have it mounted 1 screw hole back because I've made this modification. And as you can see, this thing is pretty strong. I modified 2 parts to fit into this position. I tried to use as many parts that were in the box as possible. And luckily I was able to find a way to make in the box parts work for this. These 2 parts are from the adjustable center mount on the stand. This plate is actually the center mount plate, but as I discovered, either one of them would have worked. Hello, Studio Cat again. So what I did here is I had to use some washers, 2 on one side and 1 on the other, in order to make it the right width to fit this. But with the length of the screws, this worked out just fine, and it's quite sturdy. And then I mounted this one back pretty much as far as I could. You can kind of see that it's hitting the front of the T-post to make this all work. And that allowed me to actually lean the stick forward just slightly, as it's more realistic to the F-16. The F-16's is canted forward at a 12-degree angle. This is not that. I didn't get it quite that much. But it puts it in the right place for me to be ergonomic with the F-16. And I guess I'll demonstrate that. Alright, so when I'm flying the F-16, I want my stick to be right down by my hand so that my arm is reaching slightly down to the stick. Now I may do some additional adjustments to get the stick exactly where it is in the real plane. I don't know if I have enough adjustment with this setup, but that's something that I can look into in the future. So the final modification we have is the upfront displays. This one is from FlightForge. You can get that on their site. They do it through Etsy, and I will have a link for it in the description below. I'm currently testing this. This one is for the A10. I 3D printed some mounts for this. I will say that this one for the A10 messed up, and so I've had to trim it, and you actually could see that it had a big layer shift, but I was able to salvage and at least use it for a prototype. I will end up posting these because I have 2, one for the A10, one for the F-16. I may make a separate piece to make it mountable pretty much on any flat surface, but this one is specifically made for this cockpit in this configuration. And the way that I did this is we're going to unplug it. So if I want to fly, this is for the A10, so if I want to fly the F-16, all I have to do is, this is just friction fit. I can slide that off of there. Now, what we have here, this piece was for the adjustable center mount. It usually is mounted underneath. I have it mounted on top, and I just took some measurements here. If I want to fly the F-16, I just come in with the F-16 ICP and slide it over that. And there it goes. I bring this cable back behind and I plug it in, and bam, I'm using the F-16 ICP. And there we are. If I want to go back to the A10, I just pull the F-16 one off. It is a friction fit, but it's a fairly tight one too. I bring the A10 one in, and there we go. So we'll go ahead and advance. I really love this ICP. It's a super cheap option at $89 from FlightForge's Etsy store. I'll put it in the description below. It's been really nice. Very, very convenient to use for all those programming things you do in the 16. Waypoints, all of your navigational stuff, obviously, waypoints, right? But also frequencies for your radio and other functionality. This is great. So, all right, let's get taken off. Here, I'm going to go to Cat 1 for takeoff. Give me a bit more authority. We'll ignore the master caution. Looking for 150. We have it. Rotate. Come on, baby. She heavy, guys. Okay. Positive brake. Gear up. Back to Cat 3. Okay, gear just up. Okay. This setup really puts this stick in a good place. It looks almost in the right place. It's slightly high, I would say, compared to the real thing. Okay, almost at our altitude. And 10,000 feet is there. Woo, look at all those. Let's scan them. Looks like we do have enemies out here. They're high. So we better get off of our auto. We better start climbing. Those are at about 20 miles out. Box 3. We are gonna crank. Like we just lost him. We did. I think we need to increase our scan range. That means our missile went pit hole. Where is he? Box 3. Switch to dogfight mode. Wait for a break in the flares. There we go. Box 2. Got him.
Lock.
Box 3. Got him.
Lock.
Box 3. I'm out. Got him. Checking R6. I see nothing. Okay. Coming out of Cat 1. Coming out of dogfight mode. We're still surrounded by bandits. I don't exactly want to get into more furballs. Maybe they'll let me sneak out, huh? Ah, look what we have there. Okay. There's something that looks like it could contain something that needed to be defended, huh? Just looking for SAM sites, because I think that they'll light me up real quick here. They might be hidden behind those hills, and if they are, oh, look what we have. I found some, so let's lock them up. Okay, and I'm actually going to quickly go to SMS, switch weapons, JSOWs. I'm going to turn in, and I'm going to piggy them. Piggy away. Okay, I'm going to go up, lock that, piggy away. Okay, now I'm going to turn away and we're going to see the effect of those. SA-11, defensive.
Counter. Cat flare. Cat flare. Cat flare. Cat flare.
Okay, I've already masked it. brakes. In the Rhino, it pulls your stick forward when you brake. I don't know if that's how the real plane works, but it sure is cool. Alright, so I'm going to run it up. Full brakes. Make sure engines reach full. Release the brakes. Keep it lined up. We're looking for 125, 130 for rotation. I'm going to put my hand on the landing gear lever because in VR I don't like to be hunting for the landing gear lever when I'm taking off. Not as big of a issue here in the Warthog as it is in the F-16 or something like that. That can overrun its landing gear, so speed-wise. All right, we're passing 120. I'm going to rotate. Looking for positive altitude. We got it. Gear up. Got gear all the way up. Raise my flaps one more layer, or one more level. I'm going to start my turn, but I'm going to be nice and calm with it because we're only doing 160. I'm going to raise my flaps the rest of the way. Search and destroy is not easy. I know they're in the area, but I don't know where. So, let's find them. Looking for like 6 dots on a road. They can shoot at me, so I hope I find them before they find me. Ah! Found him! Okay. I'm just gonna hit this one. I'm just gonna hit this one at VPForce. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and launch several APKWSs on it as soon as they are boom, 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 boom. Got him. Okay, that ought to get him to stop. I'm going to bank off. We're going to arm our CB97s. Oop. CB105. Oop. That actually made my butt pucker just a little bit getting hit right there. Switch our master mode to CCRP. We're 2.2 away from them. Okay. I am damaged in some way. I think I may have been hitting the tail. Let's go ahead and move our speed. Alright, there's our location. We need to turn to the right to bring our... It looks like one of my engines is not running at the same speed as the other. Oh yeah, okay, I see. I'm gonna drop the two, I'm gonna go ahead and jettison some of this stuff. I'm gonna jettison the GBU 12 over there. Got a point track on it. Got a laser running. Come on, 2.5. We're gonna have to bank off of it quick. 2.2, 2.1. Three. Boom. Laser on. They're starting to move again. 2.7 kilometers. We will convince them to stop here in a moment. 2.0 kilometers. Ooh, got hit again. You got that truck? I'm gonna go for the deck.
Altitude, altitude.
Not
Pull up,
precisely what we want to have happen here. I really need to get those gun trucks. Okay, we are lined up, waiting for it to be in range. We will give him 3 just in case, and we will head for the
altitude. Pull up, pull up.
Okay, lining up.
Altitude, altitude.
Blazing. Yeah. All right. I wonder what else we have there. Can see this truck over here, so we'll go for him.
Altitude, altitude.
Laser on. Laze it, laze it, laze it. Why isn't it lasing? There we go. Okay.
Pull up, pull up.
No, I'm gonna be dead right here. Alright, we are ready to go.
And deslaving.
Oh, look at that.
Target acquired.
P80U. Driving down a road. Look at that.
Blazing. Lasers off. Engaging.
Rifle.
And slave. Tracking target. Laser on. Lasers off. Blazing. Rocket quantity to 12.
That's what I think about you and your dish gun.
Lasers off.
Is he still
Deslaving.
alive?
Laser on. Firing. Lasers off. Good effects on target.
He lived. Man, he just about showed me what for, didn't he? Let's go see if my pilot survived. If my pilot survived, which he didn't. But if the game thinks he did, then he'll give me a chance to rescue him. If not, then, well, that's it. Thank you for tuning in to the next video in our Next Level Racing review. As you can see, it is very versatile and it is able to accommodate the many different setups that I have in order to fly different aircraft, and I'm really enjoying using it so far. If you are interested in getting a Next Level Racing set up, then please see the link in the description below. It is an affiliate link, so it does help the channel out a little bit if you use it, but more than anything else, it provides you with a discount, so just one more thing that we're looking to do for our community. Please consider subscribing. It really does help us out, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It does, though, help companies decide to send us hardware review, and when that happens, we're able to provide you with additional content for free. So I would really appreciate it if you would consider that. In addition, we do have an enormous amount of content coming in the next few months here. We have a whole bunch of pieces of hardware that we're reviewing right now, and we're just barely getting started on this Next Level Racing review, so stay tuned. But more than anything, I really do hope that you all have fun, fly safe, and have a great day.